Jai Hind everyone, I'm Kalki Joshi and today I'm here to read an article in front of you. The title, The Multiple Layers of the Ceasefire, Gaza Ceasefire. Let us begin. Just days before the swearing in of the United States President elect Donald Trump and a few hours before outgoing President Joe Biden gave his final address to the American people on January 15, 2025, Israel and Hamas announced that the long elusive ceasefire agreement over Gaza had been struck. The state of Qatar, long stuck in between as a mediator, said the deal was to take effect from January 19, 2025, a day before Mr. Trump take charge. An exchange of Israeli hostages and Palestinian prisoners is at the center of this arrangement. The deck and the cards. The news of the agreements saw Palestinians in Gaza take to the streets in celebration, having faced death and destruction at the hands of the Israeli military, whose response to the October 7, 2023 terror attack went on for over 15 months, even as political deadlocks continued. In a statement, Hamas has highlighted that the movement dealt with all responsibility and positivity based on its responsibility towards our patient and the steadfast people in the honorable Gaza Strip by stopping the Zionist aggression against them and putting an end to the massacres and wars of genocide to which they are being subjected. In Washington, D.C., Mr. Trump and Mr. Biden reportedly worked in unison to deliver the deal, even as both tried to lap up to the credit for Mr. Trump, who previously demanded that such a deal be reached before his presidency. This was a marketable advertising of renewed American strength as promised in his election campaign. For Mr. Biden, it is an attempt to salvage legacy. The joker in this geopolitical deck is Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Amidst misplaced perceptions that Mr. Trump would allow Mr. Netanyahu a longer lash to continue his military operations in Gaza, unabated. Opinion prevailed that anyone but Mr. Biden would be good for both stemming the ongoing conflicts and reigning in Israel's military posturing. It is in all the likeliness not a coincidence that the Israeli leadership agreed to the deal, which in parallel with Hamas, it has scuttled many times to send a message of partnership and resolve to Mr. Trump. Why Mr. Netanyahu would go out of the way to quote Mr. Trump even after the Israeli leader was invited by the Republicans to address a joint session of Congress in July 2024 is a question that has a simple answer. Mr. Trump priorities personality over policy. Agreeing to this deal with Hamas is offering Mr. Trump a victory at potentially big domestic cost for Mr. Netanyahu. For long, Mr. Netanyahu has maintained that only a complete victory over Hamas is acceptable. With this deal, he becomes an Israeli prime minister who has cut a political statement with the arc foe, but without a complete elimination of Hamas. Next paragraph on Hamas and Israel. There is no doubt that Hamas and also Hezbollah in Lebanon have had their capacities diminished over the past year after leadership decapitation operations conducted by Israel. Simultaneously, outgoing US Secretary of State Antony Blinken has also said that assessments show that Hamas has recruited as many new militants as it has lost. The lack of a political track acting as insurance for the ceasefire remains a concern. Hamas is expected to continue to be in control of Gaza in the time to come, as barely any movements have taken place to reorganize the Palestinian politics in a way where the group can be brought under a wider and more mainstream Palestinian led political ecosystem. Hamas by itself will remain steadfast in its ideology against Israeli security and sovereignty, while Hamas and Israel continue to remain on the same page against a two state solution, despite a global push for this being the only viable option available for lasting peace. The prevailing situation of this status quo, okay, despite the ceasefire, can be leveraged by Mr. Netanyahu in case Hamas resumes attacks against Israeli terrorists and populations. In such a situation, Mr. Netanyahu will be able to approach Mr. Trump from a vantage point, having agreed to the Hamas deal, a return to retaliatory tactics at the juncture will be will in all likeliness come with full support of Mr. Trump, maneuvering the Israeli position, okay, back to one of the strength like one is enjoyed under Mr. Biden. Previously, Mr. Trump has publicly stated that there would be hell to pay for Hamas if Israeli hostages, which includes American citizens, are not released. Now move on to the next paragraph. Gaza and its rebuilding. Beyond the political intricacies of this ceasefire arrangement, the most important deliverable would be that of the critical aid to the people in Gaza, as food and the medical shortages surpassed critically a long time ago. Beyond the aid front, the rebuilding of Gaza may yet be a premature discussion until alternative political mechanisms are envisioned within the Palestinian fold. Okay, this is where the Arab powers have an opportunity to exert influence and seek a remolding, a reshaping, and a revitalization of the Palestinian Authority to better equip Palestinian politics as a core stakeholder for a challenging future, where the much sought after two state solution remains a distant reality. Finally, the international community must also play its role to push for the sustainability of this deal, the future of West Asian prosperity, newer geo-economic architectures such as the India Middle East Europe Economic Corridor, a potential expansion of the Abraham Accords, and even the radicalism of Saudi Arabia Israel normalization ultimately hinges on this momentum. At the end of this day, the management of the regional geopolitical fissures by regional powers will determine all outcomes. Gentlemen, I have read this article for you and I hope you enjoy this session. This article is written by Kabir Taneja. This is an article from the Hindu. Thank you for listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.